Let's talk about backstabs. In my 3.5 hours of playing this game, I have backstabbed a lot of people. I've never fished for hate mail, but in that time I've gotten several messages calling me a cheater, a Lagstab abuser, and a hacker, in addition to some other colorful language. Most players think of backstabs as something that only happens if they sneak up on someone and if they are perfectly behind them. Ironically, even if they were trying to backstab you and would laugh because of how broken it looked had they gotten it, should you backstab them and it looked even a bit wrong, they'll normally question it. In this clip, I invaded someone who had YT at the end of their gamertag, and I joked about shouting it out while I was streaming, but months later as I was sorting through clips, I looked it up and found that they really had a YouTube channel. And sure enough, when I found the clip I invaded them in, I was called a hacker for backstabbing them. In particular, I had backstabbed this individual by counter-strafing their strafe backstab attempt. Now, this player clearly knew how several aspects of the game worked, but when it came to backstabs, their understanding was limited, and their commentary was nothing more than being upset in the moment.
Ich bin einfach halbes Leben ab, ey.
Ja, der hat auch meine Axt.
Na, ja, hat er.
Ah, dieses overpowered as fuck. Da kannst du nichts gegen machen. Außer ausweichen. Gut,
Ich stand vor ihm und er teleportiert sich hinter mich und gibt mir einen Backstab. Geiler Hacker.
Leben wir hoch, geil Hacker.
They easily continued on with their playthrough afterwards as if this invasion had not even happened. Now I want to address the most commonly misunderstood aspect of backstabs. Not in getting them, but rather in their animation. Most animations in this game interpolate from one to the other to create a smooth transition between the two. To keep things simple, this is the creation of in-between frames by using the current and next known keyframes. Using zero lag and zero latency PvE opponents, for example, you can see that backstabs have to not only account for the transition from one animation to another, but also have to account for multiple entities, their animations, their facing directions, the backstab confirmation, and then synchronizing it all together. Due to the confirmation no longer being immediate as it was in Dark Souls 1 and Demon Souls, there is a delay separate from latency that can allow the second entity to enter another animation and face an entirely different direction by the time it confirms. Once the backstab check starts though, the only thing the confirmation cares about is if the target is close enough for the grab and that the target is not in invincibility frames. This is because it is assumed that the player doing the backstabbing was able to start one because on their screen they had pressed R1 while facing the targets back within the angle allowed. I've seen a lot of players dismiss backstabs as something fancy they don't need, and just as many players asking how to get better at them. While there are plenty of videos explaining details like spacing and timing, there's not many that showcase why a backstab happened. In particular, looking at when they were backstabbed and why it happened. It's important to not just dismiss it as the game being bad, that right there is what's called a backstab cancel. We'll come back to that later, but as I was saying, it's important to not just dismiss it as the game being bad, lag, or a mistake getting punished, but rather understand why it happened and if it was because of circumstances or a good opponent read. Quite often you can rewatch the moments before an action happens and easily determine what the player intents really were. The most common reason a backstab happens is because someone does an action with a long recovery and are unable to, or decide not to, move away afterwards. There are several actions that can be punished with a backstab though, and in particular it's a hard counter to someone who's looking for a parry, which in itself is supposed to be a hard counter to someone spamming R1. Regardless of who you're fighting though, there will always be a small amount of latency, and you have to always think of where you were moments ago, because that's where you were on their screen when it confirmed. Generally, the time between an attack hitting an opponent and the damage registering is a good measure of how much of a delay there is. When that delay is fluctuating, then you can start blaming lag, because that's when the various network components in between players are struggling to keep up with the data packets they're sending and receiving. Not all backstabs are intentional though. Sometimes you can get one just by being in the correct space by coincidence and pressing R1 in general. Regardless if it was an accident or not, you should still look at these moments to determine if there was a behavior or action that you could have done differently or possibly use later on in your favor. A lot of players tend to have repeated patterns with very little efforts to mix them up until they're punished for it. And if you're the type of player to taunt mid-fight, then you better make sure you're the last funker left standing, or you can expect it right back. Returning to the subject of backstab cancels. This is something that occurs when the person performing the backstab is forced into a different animation as the confirmation occurs. This is something that happens very rarely, as it generally only happens when two players are backstabbing each other and both get the confirmation at the same time. But it can also happen in such circumstances where the player's poise is broken, which is generally what happens when legitimate lag occurs. To say I've never lagstabbed someone though would be an outright lie. If you play the game in multiplayer long enough, you will eventually experience lag. It doesn't matter how good your internet quality is and what you've done to ensure you have the best connection available to you, because many people don't even think about their connection beyond it loading the internet. Odds are at some point you will interact with someone who has limited internet service, a bad upload speed, a firewall preventing all the packets from being sent, a VPN adding in additional layers for the signal to pass through, or most commonly someone playing on an unstable Wi-Fi connection. In addition, some lag only happens while a phantom is entering or exiting a world, be it friend or foe. This is caused by the host connection dealing with the change in people he or she is connected to. Generally, when lag happens, you can only hope that at some point the damage you're doing registers. Ironically, the best thing you can do while someone is lagging is mashing R1 or roll in hopes that multiple hits register quick enough that they are unable to heal it or that you're in iframes for their damage. Backstabbing someone during lag is not ideal because the confirmation requirements will usually fail from the difference in location, and usually they'll hit you enough times that it accidentally becomes a backstab cancel. I personally play on a PS4 and can only speak about what I have personally seen, but to address the points of hacks, to my knowledge, on console the only cheats that can be done are modifying values such as maximum HP, FP, stamina, and stat points by using a save editor. There is no running custom scripts of any kind for the game, and the values cannot be changed dynamically because of various protections or limitations. If it looks weird, it's probably a game glitch, exploit, or lag. I'm very far from the only person to experience lagstabs though, and anyone who has had to deal with it is generally surprised if they do get the backstab, because it usually fails. Luckily, I've reached out to a few other content creators and streamers who were kind enough to share their clips for us to enjoy the few times it did work.
Man, what? What the fuck is going on? Yeah, when I speak about the connection being super iffy lately on PS4, that was some oh my one motion You weren't lagging, can you? Oh boy, why? I told ya, we got 4 hours. We got 4 hours of invasions on PC with no bloody lag. Holy!
Malcolm. What? The f?
Oh hi. What? 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 Just die. Just die, please.
I'm gonna get sucked back into that. I'm gonna get sucked back into that. Yep, called it.
God, mages, what are you and why? What?
Get deleted.
Why I cannot step? Oh, you are laggy as shit, man. Look at this. I will come back into that. Oh my god, he jumped back up. What the actual?
Can't you just be normal? Can't you just be a normal Sombra? Do I really need to deal with this? Okay.
Hello. Remember me? Oh. Hey.
I did not want to kick there. Thank you. Oh, backstab, please! Oh, there was someone like it. Woo! Woo!
Hopefully with more players understanding more about these mechanics, there will be less complaints. And that's Reddit posts about patching backstabs. Because even if future titles improve things like the animations and confirmation checks, they're unlikely to remove such features. Doing so will remove not just mechanic, but also variety, and it just create a different kind of unbalance in its removal. Likely one that would further encourage passivity, as the high reward for a high-risk approach would be greatly diminished. Why go for a backstab if it only does a little more damage than 2 R1s? Lastly, for a little over a year now, I have been doing a daily upload on a second channel of randomly selected invasion clips with minimal editing. If you're interested in seeing a better context for crit fishing in general instead of just the highlight montage bits, then check out the link channel at the end of the video and in the description. And if you watch the Backstabovania at a slower speed, let me know in the comments. See you later.